The facts matter.
Stephen K. Bannon and Brian Kolfage.
Welcome back. This is Stephen K. Bannon. We're off the coast of Saint-Tropez in southern France in the Mediterranean. We're on the $1 million yacht of Brian Kolfage. And Brian Kolfage, he took all that money from Build the Wall. No, we're actually in Sunland Park, New Mexico.
Good morning, everyone. Virgo here. It is August 22nd, 2020. As you guys know, I don't normally post on the weekend, but I have so many stories and debunkings on my list that I'm trying to actually catch some up. So I'm going to be putting up a few things over the weekend. And one of the things I want to remind you guys of is that Chuck and I will be doing the Odd Couple show with Chuck and Virgo on Sunday this week. And we're going to be doing that at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. But in addition to that, I will be on the panel for Schrodinger's cat, and that will be at 5 o'clock Eastern Time on Sunday. So a lot going on this weekend that you guys might want to take a look at. Look in the communities section of my channel, and you will find all of the information to the times and channels that you will need to go to. And of course, you'll be notified of the Odd Couple show. We'll be doing it off of the Virgo Triad platform again. So there's that in the way of actual announcements. The picture that you're looking at, of course, is Steve Bannon. And this morning we are going to be reading the indictment. For those of you that did not have the opportunity to actually see my previous video with regards to this, the We Build the Wall campaign has run into some issues, which I was concerned about, as most of you are aware of, as of a year ago. I did a couple of videos that were not very popular at that time. I took a lot of flack for those videos, but I was warning everyone to be very, very cautious with regards to this particular charity. Number one, most people are unaware that you can't just provide money like that from charitable individuals to the government. It has to be approved through Congress first, so I knew that was going to be an issue. Then when they got over that slump and said, we're going to just do it on our own, we're going to do it ourselves, and continued to collect millions of dollars, I started seeing more and more purchases from a couple of the founders. That put up some red flags. I made some statements with regards to that. In addition to that, I pulled out a background check on Brian Kolfage at that time, which showed some unfavorable business practices. As I said, I took some serious flack for that, but it's turning out at this point, sadly, that a good portion of the people who actually gave to that charity have been ripped off. I'm going to go ahead and read this real quick for you. This little excerpt here. Steve Bannon, a former advisor to President Trump, was indicted along with 3 others on Thursday in connection to an online fundraising campaign called We Build the Wall. The campaign was advertised as an effort to build a wall on the U.S. border with Mexico, and according to federal prosecutors in New York, hundreds of thousands of donors were allegedly defrauded in the scheme. Reading the indictment is what we're going to do now. All right, so if you guys want to take a look, WeBuildTheWall.com was still up just a few minutes ago when I looked. I don't know how long it will remain up. So here we go. We're going to take a look at this indictment. Now, I want to also mention to you, take a look at what it says. It says sealed indictment, right? All indictments are technically sealed or secret. Some places call them secret indictments. Some places call them sealed indictments. Until there's an arrest that is made. So once again, in the Millicent Weaver case, as I informed you guys, The fact that they arrested her and claimed that there was a secret indictment, that is totally normal. Once she was arrested, it immediately was made public on not on Pacer, on the county website. Once again, that is not abnormal. People got all freaked out about that. So here we go. We see it again here. Now, because this is a situation where it looks like there's both federal and state things that are going on here, it might be a little wonky in the attempt to try to find a lot of information that we may be looking to as we get further into this case. I don't know that for sure. I'm just guessing. But here we go with the actual indictment. So we have the United States District Court, Southern District of New York, the United States of America versus Brian Kolfage, Stephen Bannon, Andrew Bottolato, and Timothy Shea. Count 1. Conspiracy to commit wire fraud. The grand jury charges: 1. Brian Kolfage, Stephen Bannon, Andrew Bottolato, and Timothy Shea, the defendants and others, orchestrated a scheme to defraud hundreds of thousands of donors, including donors in the Southern District of New York, in connection with an online crowdfunding campaign ultimately known as WeBuildTheWall that raised more than $25 million to build a wall along the southern border of the United States. To induce donors to donate to the campaign, Kolfage and Bannon, each of whom, as detailed herein, exerted significant control over WeBuildTheWall, repeatedly and falsely assured the public that Kolfage would not take a penny in salary or compensation, and that 100% of the funds that were raised will be used in the execution of our mission and purpose, because, as Bannon publicly stated, we're a volunteer organization. 2. Those representations were false. In truth, Brian Kolfage, Stephen Bannon, Andrew Bottolato, and Timothy Shea, the defendants, collectively received hundreds of thousands of dollars in donor funds from WeBuildTheWall, which they each used in a manner inconsistent with the organization's public representations. In particular, Kolfage covertly took more than $350,000 in funds that had been donated to WeBuildTheWall for his personal use, while Bannon, through a nonprofit organization under his control, Nonprofit One, received over $1 million from WeBuildTheWall, which Bannon used to, among other things, secretly pay Kolfage and to cover hundreds of thousands of dollars in Bannon's personal expenses. To conceal the payments to Kolfage from WeBuildTheWall, Kolfage, Bannon, Bottolato, and Shea devised a scheme to route those payments from WeBuildTheWall to Kolfage indirectly through Nonprofit One, and a shell company under Shea's control, among other avenues. They did so by using fake invoices and sham vendor arrangements, among other ways, to ensure, as Kolfage noted in a text message to Bottolato, that his pay arrangement remained confidential, and to keep on the need-to-know basis. 3. On or around December 17, 2018, Brian Kolfage, the defendant, with the assistance of others, launched a fundraising campaign originally called We the People Build the Wall on a crowdfunding website. And of course, we all know what that website was. According to statements on the webpage for We the People Build the Wall on the crowdfunding website, the campaign was raising funds to donate to the United States federal government for construction of a wall at the southern border of the United States. The webpage also stated that 100% of your donations will be given to the government for the construction of a wall, and that if the campaign could not attain its goal, it would refund every single penny. Number 4. The We the People Build the Wall campaign was an immediate fundraising success. Within the first week, Brian Kolfage, the defendant, with the assistance of Timothy Shea, the defendant, raised approximately $17,000. Despite its early success, does that say 17 million? $17 million. Despite its early success, the campaign also drew scrutiny, including questions about Kolfage's background and the campaign's plan to give the money raised to the federal government for the purpose of constructing a wall at the southern border of the United States. Number 5. Based on those concerns, in or around December 2018, the crowdfunding website suspended the campaign, which by that point had raised more than $20 million, and warned Brian Kolfage, the defendant, that unless he identified a legitimate nonprofit organization into which those funds could be transferred, the crowdfunding website would return the funds. Number 6. Around the same time, Brian Kolfage, the defendant, involved Steve Bannon and Andrew Bottolato, the defendants, in the leadership of the campaign. Bannon, a political strategist and former media executive, and Bottolato, an entrepreneur and venture capitalist, were already working together on Nonprofit One, which was a separate Section 501c4 organization founded by Bannon with the stated purpose of promoting economic nationalism and American sovereignty. Number 7. Within days of becoming involved, Stephen Bannon and Andrew Bottolato, the defendants, took significant control of the fundraising campaign's organization and day-to-day activities, including its finances, messaging, donor outreach, and general operations. Specifically in or around late December of 2018, Bannon and Bottolato, working with Brian Kolfage, the defendant, oversaw the creation of a new Section 501c4 organization, WeBuildTheWall Incorporated, to which they proposed that the money that had been raised by We the People Build the Wall could be transferred. Bannon, Bottolato, and Kolfage formed WeBuildTheWall Incorporated to continue fundraising activities relating to wall construction with the modified purpose of funding the private construction of a wall along the southern border of the United States. Number 8. Moreover, Brian Kolfage, Stephen Bannon, and Andrew Bottolato, the defendants, made and caused to be made a series of representations and gave assurances to the crowdfunding website intended to induce the crowdfunding website to release the donor funds to WeBuild the Wall. These assurances included, among other things, written bylaws with conflict of interest provisions and compensation restrictions, including insiders like Kolfage, among others, from improperly misappropriating donor funds, and a promise that Kolfage would take no salary and will personally not take a penny of compensation from these donations. Kolfage, Bannon, and Bottolato also agreed that donors would have to opt in to have their contribution redirected from the crowdfunding website to WeBuild the Wall. The use of the WeBuild the Wall to perpetuate the fraud. Number 9. Beginning in January of 2019, Brian Kolfage, Stephen Bannon, Andrew Bottolato, and Timothy Shea, the defendants, caused WeBuild the Wall to mislead donors, promising them repeatedly that 100% of the funds would be used for construction of a wall that Kolfage in particular would take no salary or compensation from the new organization. Contrary to the representations both to donors and to crowdfunding website, Kolfage, Bannon, Bottolato, and Shea worked together to misappropriate hundreds of thousands of dollars of those funds for their own personal benefit. Number 10. Beginning on or around January 11th of 2019, and consistent with the assurances provided to the crowdfunding website, WeBuildTheWall announced that it had changed its mission to the private construction of a wall, and that donors needed to opt in to having their donation transferred to WeBuildTheWall for this purpose. In essence, under WeBuildTheWall's agreement with the crowdfunding website, Brian Kolfage, Stephen Bannon, and Andrew Bottolato, the defendants, had to effectively re-raise the approximately $20 million they had already raised from donors by convincing them to opt in and thereby permit their donations to be transferred to WeBuildTheWall. Number 11. To do so, Brian Kolfage, Stephen Bannon, and Andrew Bottolato, the defendants, caused WeBuildTheWall to promise donors that 100% of the funds raised would be used towards the construction of a wall, and that not a penny would be used to compensate Kolfage. That promise was repeatedly made in donor solicitations, public statements, social media posts, press appearances by Kolfage and Bannon, and others acting as Kolfage's, Bannon's, and Bottolato's direction. For example, WeBuildTheWall's website told prospective donors that in accordance with Mr. Kolfage's personal pledge and the bylaws, Mr. Kolfage will not profit even a penny from WeBuildTheWall Incorporated. Kolfage similarly and repeatedly promised in fundraising solicitation emails, which Bannon and Bottolato reviewed and approved, that he would not take a penny in salary or compensation. Kolfage posted messages on social media that included representations such as, "We promise 100% of the funds raised on the crowdfunding website only go towards border wall construction. All money donated to the WeBuildTheWall campaign goes directly to wall, not anyone's pocket, and I'm taking nothing, zero." In effect, Kolfage went so far as to send mass emails to his donors asking them to purchase coffee from his unrelated business, telling donors that the coffee company was the only way he keeps his family fed and a roof over his head, because Kolfage was taking no compensation from WeBuildTheWall. Number 12. Kolfage also touted the bylaws that WeBuildTheWall had ratified at the request of the crowdfunding website, saying publicly and in media interviews, for example, "It states in our bylaws I take zero, no salary, no compensation, and I won't take a penny from these donations, and it's not possible to steal the money. We have an advisory committee. I can't touch that money. It's not for me. We have bylaws set up." Number 13. Brian Kolfage, Stephen Bannon, and Andrew Bottolato, and defendants and others acting at their direction, approved these statements, which were false, precisely because they understood and expected that donors would rely upon these representations, which were intended to maximize the fundraising potential of WeBuildTheWall. Indeed, in developing their strategy of emphasizing to donors that Kolfage would not be paid a dime, Bannon and Bottolato, in a text message exchange, discuss how that message would help drive fundraising and opt-ins by prior donors, because it would, as Bottolato stated, become, quote, "the most talked about media narrative ever," since it, quote, "removes all self-interest taint," and, quote, "gives Brian Kolfage sainthood." For that reason, Bottolato insisted that the statement that Kolfage would not take a penny of compensation be included in the email to WeBuildTheWall's donors about the opt-in process, explaining in an email that this statement was a material item to donors. 14. Moreover, in addition to statements that Brian Kolfage, the defendant, would not be paid a dime, Kolfage, Stephen Bannon, and Andrew Bottolato, the defendants, conveyed that others in the leadership of We Build the Wall and its advisory board, which Bannon chaired, would not be compensated. For example, Kolfage wrote on social media, quote, "I thought it was pretty clear. I made a promise that I would never take a penny. 100% of fundraising through donations will only go towards the wall. 100% means 100%, right? Board won't see any of the money." Moreover, during interviews and We Build the Wall events, Bannon himself stated, "I did this kind of as a volunteer, and we're a volunteer organization." 15. Donors took notice of this core narrative and told Brian Kolfage, the defendant, and others working for We Build the Wall that it mattered to them. Some of those donors wrote directly to Kolfage that they did not have a lot of money and were skeptical about online fundraising campaigns, but they were giving what they could because they trusted Kolfage would keep his word about how their donations would be spent. Kolfage also wrote a prospective donors who raised concerns, assuring the donors in private messages that he would not be being compensated. 16. These false assurances successfully induced donors to give money to We Build the Wall and to opt in to have their prior donations transferred to We Build the Wall's new nonprofit entity. Of the original $20 million raised from hundreds of thousands of donors, most of the donors agreed to opt in and allow their donations to be transferred to the We Build the Wall under the false premise that 100% of fundraising through donations will only go towards the wall, and that Brian Kolfage, the defendant, would not take any compensation for his work. Moreover, We Build the Wall continued to raise new funds from additional donors based on those false representations. In total, between the beginning of the opt-in period in January of 2019 and October of 2019, We Build the Wall raised approximately $25 million in new or opt-in donor funds under the false assurance that 100% of money donated would go to construction of the wall. The defendant's self-enrichment from We Build the Wall's funds. 17. Despite these repeated assurances, the public narrative deliberately crafted by Brian Kolfage, Stephen Bannon, and Andrew Bottolato, the defendants, and others was false. In fact, although We Build the Wall spent money on the construction of a border wall, hundreds of thousands of dollars were siphoned out of the We Build the Wall for the personal use and benefit of Kolfage, Bannon, Bottolato, and Timothy Shea, the defendant. Indeed, despite Kolfage's numerous public statements that he was not taking a salary or getting a penny in compensation, within days of launching We Build the Wall, Kolfage, working primarily with Bannon and Bottolato, reached a secret agreement, whereby Kolfage would be covertly paid $100,000 up front and then $20,000 per month. Because that arrangement was directly contrary to the defendant's repeated public representations, Kolfage, Bannon, Bottolato, Shea, and others schemed to pass these payments to Kolfage directly from We Build the Wall through third parties, including entities under the control of Bannon and Shea. 18. To preserve the secrecy of the arrangement to pay Brian Kolfage, the defendant with We Build the Wall's donor funds, Stephen Bannon, the defendant, agreed to pass payments from We Build the Wall to Kolfage through Nonprofit One, which, as noted above, was controlled by Bannon, with the assistance of Andrew Bottolato and, the defendant and others. In approving that arrangement, Bannon made clear in a text message to Bottolato that there would be, quote, "no deals I don't approve," and directed that Kolfage be paid indirectly through Nonprofit One in an attempt to conceal the payments from the public, notwithstanding the fact that Kolfage did not work for Nonprofit One and that the payments from Nonprofit One to Kolfage would be funded by WeBuildTheWall. 19. Consistent with the scheme, on or around February 11th of 2019, Stephen Bannon and Andrew Bottolato, the defendants, caused Nonprofit One to pay Brian Kolfage, the defendant, $100,000 in funds from WeBuildTheWall. Text messages exchanged between Bannon and Bottolato and others confirmed the payment was intended as a salary for Kolfage and that the payment would be funded by WeBuildTheWall. In particular, in the days prior to the payment, Bannon directed Bottolato in a text message to send a wire of cash to Nonprofit One from WeBuildTheWall, and shortly thereafter Nonprofit One's bank account received a $250,000 wire from WeBuildTheWall. No more than a week later, the same bank account was used to make a $100,000 wire transfer to Kolfage. In each of the following 2 months, Bannon again paid Kolfage, each time a $20,000 monthly salary payment, consistent with the secret deal Bannon had approved. As described above, using funds that had been wired into Nonprofit One's bank account from WeBuildTheWall shortly before the payment to Kolfage. When Kolfage later noted in a text message to Bottolato that at least in part as a result of these pass-through payments, WeBuildTheWall would have to disclose substantial payments to Nonprofit One on tax forms, Bottolato replied, quote, "Better than you or me, laugh out loud." To conceal the payments Kolfage received from Nonprofit One, Kolfage instructed Bottolato that the payments should be made to Kolfage's spouse, and Nonprofit One subsequently issued a Form 1099 falsely stating that it had been paid to Kolfage's spouse for, quote, media. 20. Thereafter, beginning in or around April 2019, and to further conceal payments of WeBuildTheWall funds to Brian Kolfage, the defendant, his secret monthly salary of approximately $20,000 was passed indirectly through other third-party entities that were purported vendors of WeBuildTheWall, including one under the control of Timothy Shea, the defendant. Starting in or around March 2019, Shea, who had been involved in early operations of the predecessor's campaign to WeBuildTheWall and was familiar with WeBuildTheWall's repeated promises that Kolfage, in particular, would take no salary, proposed in a text message exchange with Kolfage, paying Kolfage and himself out of, quote, veiled shell corporation to conceal the source and nature of the payments. Shea suggested that to conceal transactions where, for instance, $600,000 comes in and he transfers $300,000 to Kolfage, they could create companies that hired Kolfage and Shea for a service like consulting to further conceal the secret arrangement. Kolfage later told Shea in an email that they could falsely describe the payments from the new shell entity to Kolfage as for, quote, social media. 21. Consistent with the scheme detailed above, in or around April of 2019, Timothy Shea, the defendant, incorporated an anonymous limited liability corporation, or Shell Company 1 is what it was called, and then began receiving payments from WeBuildTheWall, a share of which Shea then paid over to Brian Kolfage, the defendant. For example, on or around April 22, 2019, Shell Company 1 received a $50,000 wire from WeBuildTheWall, and 4 days later paid half of that amount to Kolfage. Again, on or around May 21st of 2019, Shell Company 1 received a $30,000 wire from WeBuildTheWall, and on or around June 5th of 2019, paid $20,000 to Kolfage. The memo lines on these payments from We Build the Wall to Shell Company 1 falsely stated, as Kolfage has suggested, that they were for, quote, social media accounts and pages, when in fact neither Kolfage nor anyone else had done such work for Shell Company 1. In each instance, Shea kept the remaining balances of money. Moreover, additional $20,000 payments from Shell Company 1 to Kolfage and funded by money from We Build the Wall were made in subsequent months until at least October of 2019, when, as discussed below, the defendants learned that they might be under criminal investigation. 22. In addition to the payments above, Andrew Bottolato, the defendant, also arranged for additional $20,000 salary payments to be made from We Build the Wall to Brian Kolfage, the defendant, that were passed through bank accounts under the control of two of Botolato's associates. First, in or around June of 2019, and to pay Kolfage's $20,000 salary from We Build the Wall for the month of June of 2019, Bottolato gave a $50,000 check from We Build the Wall to an associate, Associate 1, purportedly for work done for We Build the Wall. Associate 1 then cashed the check and paid $20,000 of the funds to Kolfage, keeping the balance. Additionally, in or around late July and early August of 2019, Bottolato caused We Build the Wall to pay over $150,000 to a construction contractor, Associate 2. Associate 2 then paid $70,000 of those funds to Kolfage, another $50,000 of those funds to Bottolato, and $20,000 to an attorney working on a matter for Bottolato unrelated to We Build the Wall. 23. In total, from the creation of We Build the Wall in January of 2019 to in or around October of 2019, Brian Kolfage, the defendant, received more than $350,000 in donor funds from We Build the Wall, all passed indirectly at the direction and with the assistance of Stephen Bannon, Andrew Bottolato, and Timothy Shea, the defendants through Nonprofit 1, Shell Company 1, and the accounts controlled by Associate 1 and Associate 2. Kolfage then used those funds to pay for his own personal expenses, including, among other purposes, home renovations, payments toward a boat, a luxury SUV, a golf cart, jewelry, cosmetic surgery, personal tax payments, and credit card debt. 24. Moreover, in addition to Brian Kolfage, the defendants Stephen Bannon, Andrew Bottolato, and Timothy Shea, the defendants each received hundreds of thousands of dollars in donor funds from We Build the Wall, which they each used to pay for a variety of personal expenses, including, among other things, travel, hotel, consumer goods, and personal credit card debts, in addition to the payments described above to Kolfage. With respect to Bannon in particular, as noted above, Nonprofit 1 received over $1 million from We Build the Wall, and while some of that money was used to pay Kolfage, as detailed above, Bannon used a substantial portion of those donor funds for personal uses and expenses unrelated to We Build the Wall. 25. None of these payments to Brian Kolfage, Stephen Bannon, Andrew Bottolato, and Timothy Shea, the defendants, were ever disclosed to the public. Instead, the defendants repeatedly and intentionally led the public to believe that none of their donations would be used for the personal benefit of the defendants. Indeed, as Kolfage noted to Bottolato in the text message exchange, quote, "As far as the public knows, no one is getting paid, and salaries will never be disclosed." End quote. The defendant's concealment after learning of the criminal investigation. 26. In or around October of 2019, Brian Kolfage, Stephen Bannon, and Andrew Bottolato, the defendants, and others learned from a financial institution that WeBuildTheWall might be under federal criminal investigation. The defendants thereafter took additional steps to conceal the fraudulent scheme detailed above. For example, around that time and in reaction to the potential investigation, Kolfage and Bottolato began using encrypted messaging applications on their phones, and WeBuildTheWall's website was changed to remove any mention of the promise that Kolfage was not being compensated and to add a statement that he would be paid a salary starting January of 2020. Kolfage also stopped receiving secret salary payments after this date. Statutory allegations. 27. From at least in or around December of 2018 up to and including the date of the filing of this indictment, in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, Brian Kolfage, Stephen Bannon, Andrew Bottolato, and Timothy Shea, the defendants and others known and unknown, willfully and knowingly did combine, conspire, confederate, and agree together with each other to commit wire fraud in violation of Title 18 United States Code Section 1343. 28. It was a part and object of the conspiracy that Brian Kolfage, Stephen Bannon, Andrew Bottolato, and Timothy Shea, the defendants and others known and unknown, willfully and knowingly having devised and intending to devise a scheme and artifice to defraud, and for obtaining money and property by means of false and fraudulent pretenses, representations, and promises, would and did transmit and cause to be transmitted by means of wire, radio, and television communication in interstate and foreign commerce, writings, signs, signals, pictures, and sounds for the purpose of executing each scheme and artifice in violation of Title 18 United States Code Section 1343, to wit, Kolfage, Bannon, Bottolato, Shea, and others, known and unknown, agreed to make and cause to be made false statements to donors that 100% of the funds donated to WeBuildTheWall would be used for construction of a wall at the southern border of the United States, and that none of the money donated would be used to compensate Kolfage. 29. It further was a part and object of the conspiracy that Brian Kolfage, Stephen Bannon, and Andrew Bottolato, the defendants and others, known and unknown, willfully and knowingly have devised and intending to devise a scheme and artifice to defraud, and for obtaining money and property by means of false and fraudulent pretenses, representations, and promises, would and did transmit and cause to be transmitted by means of wire, radio, and television communications in interstate and foreign commerce, writings, signs, signals, pictures, and sounds for the purpose of executing such scheme and artifice in violation of Title 18 United States Code Section 1343, to wit, Kolfage, Bannon, Bottolato, and others, known and unknown, agreed to make and cause to be made false statements to the crowdfunding website about their intended use of donated funds and their intent to implement and adhere to internal controls designed to prevent the misappropriation of money in order to cause the crowdfunding website to release donor funds held by the crowdfunding website to the defendants. Title 18 United States Code Section 1349, Count 2, Conspiracy to commit money laundering. The grand jury further charges. 30. The grand jury incorporates the allegations contained in paragraphs 1 through 26 of this indictment as though fully set forth herein. 31. from at least in or around December 2018, up to and including the date of the filing of this indictment in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, Brian Kolfage, Stephen Bannon, Andrew Bottolato, and Timothy Shea, the defendants, and others, known and unknown, intentionally and knowingly did combine, conspire, confederate, and agree together and with each other to violate Title 18, United States Code Section 1956 A1, B, I, and 1957 A. 32. It was a part and object of the conspiracy that Brian Kolfage, Stephen Bannon, Andrew Bottolato, and Timothy Shea, the defendants, and others known and unknown, in an offense involving interstate and foreign commerce, knowing that the property involved in certain financial transactions, to wit wire transfers and checks, represented and proceeds of some form of unlawful activity, would and did conduct an attempt to conduct such financial transactions, which in fact involved the proceeds of specified unlawful activity, to wit the conspiracy to commit wire fraud alleged in count 1 of this indictment, knowing that the transactions were designed in whole and in part to conceal and disguise the nature and location, the source, the ownership, the control of the proceeds of the specified unlawful activity in violation of Title 18, United States Code, Section 1956 A1 BI. 33. It was a further part and an object of the conspiracy that Brian Kolfage, Stephen Bannon, Andrew Bottolato, and Timothy Shea, the defendants, and others, known and unknown within the United States, knowingly would and did attempt to engage in monetary transactions in criminally derived property of a greater value than $10,000, and that was derived from specified unlawful activity, to wit the conspiracy to commit wire fraud alleged in count 1 of this indictment, in violation of Title 18, United States Code, Section 1957A, Title 18, United States Code, Section 1956H. Forfeiture allegations. 34. As a result of committing the offense alleged in count 1 of this indictment, Brian Kolfage, Stephen Bannon, Andrew Bottolato, and Timothy Shea, the defendants, shall forfeit to the United States, pursuant to Title 18, United States Code Section 981 A1C, and Title 28, United States Code Section 2461C, any and all property, real and personal, that constitutes or is derived from proceeds traceable to the commission of said offense, including but not limited to a sum of money in United States currency representing the amount of proceeds traceable to the commission of said offense, and the following specific property. A. Any and all funds contained in First Bank account number 20212991187, held in the same name of WeBuildTheWall Incorporated. B. Any and all funds contained in Capital One account number 302-709-5806, held in the name of WeBuildTheWall Incorporated. C. Any and all funds contained in Bank First account number 180-38943, held in the name of WeBuildTheWall Incorporated. D. Any and all funds contained in Wells Fargo Bank account number 353-626-1401, held in the name of Citizens of the American Republic. E. Any and all funds contained in U.S. Bank account number 103-685-954-630, held in the name of Ranch Property Marketing and Management, LLC. F. Any and all funds contained in Wells Fargo Bank account number 303-335-4584, held in the name of Freedom Daily, LLC. G. Any and all funds contained in PenFed Credit Union, account number 721-820-9026, held in the name of Brian Kolfage. H. Any and all funds contained in Bank First account number 374 6617009, held in the name of America First Medical, LLC. I. Any and all funds contained in Capital One bank account number 180-46276, held in the name of America First Medical, LLC. J. Any and all funds contained in SunTrust bank account number 1000212076664, held in the name of White Knights and Vultures. Wow. Unbelievable. K. Any and all funds contained in U.S. bank account number 1036821588292, held in the name of Timothy Shea. L. Sorry. The real property described as 2019 Jupiter Marine boat named Warfighter, and M. The real property described as of 2018 Land Rover Range Rover with vehicle identification number. Yeah, I'm not going to read that. 35. As a result of committing the offense alleged in count 2 of this indictment, Brian Kolfage, Stephen Bannon, Andrew Bottolato, and Timothy Shea, the defendants, shall forfeit to the United States pursuant to Title 18, United States Code Section 982A1, any and all property, real and personal, involved in said offense, or any property traceable to such property, including but not limited to a sum of money in United States currency, representing the amount of property involved in said offense, and the specific property enumerated in paragraph 34A through M. Substitute assets provision. 36. If any of the above described forfeitable property as a result of any act or omission of the defendants, A, cannot be located upon the exercise of due diligence, B, has been transferred or sold to or deposited with a third person, C, has been placed beyond the jurisdiction of the court, D, has been substantially diminished in value, or E, has been commingled with other property which cannot be subdivided without difficulty, it is the intent of the United States pursuant to Title 21, United States Code Section 853P, and Title 28, United States Code Section 2461C, to seek forfeiture of any other property of the defendants up to the value of the above forfeitable property. Title 18, United States Code Section 982, Title 21, United States Code Section 853, and Title 28, United States Code Section 2461, signed by Acting United States Attorney Audrey Strauss. Okay, there you have it, folks. That is the entire indictment. Read for you so that you don't have to go through and read it. However, if you should like to look up specific areas, for example, it will be located in the description of this video for you. Make no mistake, these guys are in a lot of trouble. And there are other individuals that apparently are involved in this that have not been actually mentioned in this indictment. So I want to make sure that everybody is aware that we will be following this closely. One, because I had started out the story with concerns with regards to this group. And two, because quite frankly, these people are individuals that have had prior issues, which of course I warned about in my other videos. But at the time, there was a big push for this particular campaign. Many other individuals like April Lejeune and others were pushing for people to provide funding to this crowdfunding source that was up on GoFundMe. And as a result, $25 million later, here we sit. Very sad. We have had a lot of people that have come by and made claims that this is all a political maneuver. The truth is, this is very cut and dry. This is very obviously a money laundering case, and the fact that there were shell companies, which you can just, it's very easy to look these shell companies up. There's a certain amount of transparency that's required for you to maintain for donors and investors on 501c3 and 501c4 companies. Honestly, I don't see a way out of this for them because of that, because the transparency is required, and because there were more people that were concerned about this venture than just myself, and I believe we're watching very, very closely. So some of the law enforcement that got involved in this, for example, with the, grabbing of text messages and that sort of thing, may have been tipped off by some of those donors who were very concerned after the fact. We need to just watch this and see how it turns out. But I have to say, for those of you that are naysayers with regards to this, blaming this on one political party or the other, this is a very cut and dry case. This is extremely easy to see. And it's a classic money laundering scheme. So, honestly, to avoid being made a fool of later, you really need to watch and see how easy this is going to be to prove. All right, everyone, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope you will join me on Sunday for my showing in the panel of Schrodinger's cat, and also for The Odd Couple with Chuck and Virgo, which we always have a lot of fun doing that. And I will see you then. If there's anything that pops up in between then and now that's breaking news, I will be posting it. And I may have a couple more videos that'll go up over the weekend. Everybody take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Stephen K. Bannon and Brian Kolfage.
Welcome back. This is Stephen K. Bannon. We're off the coast of Saint-Tropez in southern France in the Mediterranean. We're on the $1 million yacht of Brian Kolfage. And Brian Kolfage, he took all that money from Build the Wall. No, we're actually in Sunland Park, New Mexico.